Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today.
I'm the edgy enemy monk.
And I'm not like all the other girls.
You're not like...
I'm
not,
not like...
You're so not like...
totally not like.
Oh, okay.
Definitely not like all the other girls.
So, when we're not fighting monsters underground through the power of friendship, we go by Jared and Mariah.
Yeah, so today we're just going to be talking about D&D. We know nothing, but we really like it, so we wanted to talk about our experience getting into D&D. Don't take any advice from us.
Yeah, we're both pretty new to D&D.
We've done role playing games that were loosely based on D&D for a year.
Yeah, with my one friend, he DM'd, and it was more so just playing a very kind of loosely, again, very loosely based on D&D, but...
D&D's cousin that you don't really invite to the parties too much,
but
you still try to talk to him a little bit.
Yeah, and we had, no character sheets. It was just all based on just dice rolling.
Yeah. So... diving deeper into that, Jared, do you want to get into how you learned about D&D or role-playing games in general and where you are now with that?
I learned about D&D, I'd say the first time I was really exposed to it was back in high school when I was in marching band. At the time, some of the upperclassmen in the band played D&D, and it was pretty crazy. It to me, D&D from that point on, D&D always felt like it was just this higher level of just being a nerd that I had to get to.
It was the golden standard of nerddom that you just weren't nerd enough to be in.
Exactly. And from there, I've just heard about it, and I never really entertained the thought of actually doing D&D until early in college when me and my friends started doing some very loosely based D&D games like we mentioned before.
All right. Nice.
Yeah. So how did you go into D&D, Mariah?
So, similarly, well, I guess not so I don't know. I knew about D&D around middle school or high school, and I understood that it was a role-playing game, but I knew nothing about the mechanics or the rules or anything. I thought it was literally just playing pretend at a table and, having figurines to map out what you were doing. And then, sometime after high school, I started watching YouTube channels like Dingo Doodles and Puffin Forest, and later on Critical Role, and there's rules and stuff to this. And so I later found out that you were into D&D along with a few other mutual friends of ours, and we started doing some one-shots together. Some of those were the loose cousin games, and then later on we did actual by the book D&D campaigns, and then we started going to our local game store and got into a regular group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got into our local adventure league, and getting into it was definitely something I really just wanted to do. I've just been, at the time, I felt like I wanted to just get into some sort of group activity where I just meet new people through that have had their own walks of life, and but are just easily just as motivated with D&D.
Yeah, no, yes. Can I help you?
On your phone all the time. Zoom. Frickin' Zoomer.
Fuck you.
Fucking Zoomer.
Fuck you, Boomer. Anyways. I really wanted to do Adventure League because I was also looking for a social outlet. I wanted a creative outlet, and D&D, from what I had watched on YouTube, was just so incredibly creative. There were so many different ways, whether it was you were into writing or drawing, other art forms, but whatever. Like there was just like so many things that you could. It was just like the ultimate storytelling medium, in my opinion. And I was really excited to get into a campaign, but then I didn't realize, and I don't know if you even noticed, but like I'm a very extroverted person in general. But for whatever reason, it was like the second campaign or something, I started getting a lot of anxiety around going to the games. And I didn't understand why I was so anxious about it. So, can you relate to that at all, having anxiety going into Adventure League?
And it's a little bit different from your case, where it seems like you've had a lot of anxiety like before coming in before the game.
Mm-hmm.
I usually was very excited on the nights that we had Adventures League and coming into the games. I always felt anxiety during the games, because I'm still not really super great at my communication skills. But going into this Adventure League, I really think it'll help me improve those skills. But what always tripped me up is just the ability to be able to improvise on the spot and role play as my character.
For sure, yeah. No, and we'll definitely I definitely want to get into like getting comfortable role playing, but first I want to touch more on anxieties of going into Adventure League, because I feel like people, especially if you don't have friends to go with you, it's understandably very nerve-wracking going into a game shop, especially if it's a well-established one. Everyone seems like they all know each other, so yeah, no, that can be very intimidating. I know for me, like the big source of my anxiety didn't come from being unfamiliar with the game, but more so just unfamiliar with the people. At home games, I was always a troll character, and if I wanted to be a furry, then I was going to be a furry, and you were going to have to sit with my furry ass on a train for 6 hours, and it was hilarious. But like with a new group, I didn't know if they wanted a more serious narrative-based game, if they did want to do more of like a funny kind of game, if they wanted battle-heavy games or what. So I was definitely not quiet, but very anxious throughout feeling the room.
Yeah, I can definitely relate. Like, it's always hard to just read the table and understand what the other player characters want out of campaign. One thing I was wondering, how do you like feel like if, say for instance, the other players wanted to do something like a little more combat heavy, but you want to do something that's like a little bit more role play or dialogue. How would you approach that?
I mean, that's pretty much been my experience so far with Adventure League, is that our campaigns are definitely a lot more battle driven than our home games. So for me, it was definitely uncomfortable. It was out of my comfort zone, but I wanted to really try it. For our first campaign at Adventures League, this was like a really short introductory campaign, air quotes. Like, it was only like 2 months long, and that was just because the DM knew that there were a lot of new people in the table, or just a new to each other. So yeah, it was a short campaign. Anyways, I Eldritch Blast my way through it. That was pretty much like, I set up a warlock character, and I front-loaded on all sorts of charms and charismatic-based spells, and I only had Eldritch Blast. I didn't have any battle spells aside from that, and we pretty much only did battles.
So coming out of that, like, what would you have done differently, I guess?
Have more battle spells.
And just building your character, and, yeah.
Yeah, so...
I think it's
I think that, like...
Too.
Yeah, I say, like, if you're getting into a new group like that, you don't know anyone, and you don't know how they like to do their games, I would remember that everyone else at the table is probably feeling the same way, more or less. Probably especially the DM, who's trying to figure out how they want to run the game. Mm-hmm. So, honestly, like, if you feel comfortable doing it, you can express that to your DM, and, you know, they would be totally cool with it, and, you know, they would, like, have your own interests and background in mind, and that can help them make a more beginner-friendly campaign for you. What else?
Yeah.
Eldritch Blast your way through life, man.
Yeah, I mean, as far as, like, building characters, I was definitely very overwhelmed. Like, going into there, I had no character set up for myself.
Oh my god. Guys, we were running late for our first campaign, but I don't know, we got there 10 minutes before the campaign was supposed to start, and we didn't have any characters made, and the DM just, like, we did not, what?
I was telling a story.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell your story.
Yeah, you just explaining my story for me.
Well, I'm just saying, like, you don't know how to tell stories, so I just thought I would try.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I just, like, make things inherently better that way, so... I'm sorry, go on with your story. You were talking about character creation.
Yeah, but as Ryan mentioned, like, we were running late to our first campaign. It was we were definitely all in a hurry. Had no idea what to expect, and neither of us had a character ready. But our DM was really cool, and he kind of just helped us out with figuring out what we want out of a character, and helping us like build one from scratch, and making the stats like something to where it's not a character that can't function.
Yeah, did you have, like, any classes or races in mind going in?
Like, going into it, I just wanted something that was just very simple, and that was kind of what I expressed to my DM, and he actually suggested to do something like monk, because all you pretty much do as monks is just punch things. And so I with him I built a monk with a I think it's a subclass or specialization of Way of the Kensei, which the way he described it is that monks that specialize in Kensei are kind of like Dragon Ball characters.
And you were like, yes,
yeah, and I was just like, yes, that is what I want.
Mm-hmm.
But I ended up having a lot of fun with that character in combat.
I was just thinking of a few particular instances in battle, but continue.
That was pretty much it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I was just thinking, like, there were so many times with his monk where he just, like, he was fighting a troll, and...
It was ogre.
Was it an ogre?
Yeah.
Okay, well, like I said, we don't know anything. Anyways, he was fighting an ogre, and he was just, like, unarmed striking it, and, like, the ogre kept rolling, like, 3s and 5s, so, like, Jared didn't get any damage from the ogre, and like Jared just like barely, like he kept like rolling like 3 damage or something like that, and like
it was just I was not 1 punch man, I was 10 punch man.
You were like 25 punch
25 punch man.
Yeah. But yeah, so like when I was making my character, I went in wanting to be a bard, and I didn't really have any idea for like race or alignment or anything like that. I just thought it would be fun to be a bard. And the DM asked me, do you want to have control over your fate or no? And I was like, no. And he's like, okay, you're not a bard, you're a warlock. And he told me I could have a pet dragon. I was like, yes, that. And so I made like a human warlock. And one of the things I told him, I forget if this was before or after I decided to do warlock, but I told him that I practice tarot in my everyday life, and I thought it'd be cool to incorporate that in some way. And so I kind of had this backstory that was slowly developing in my head for this character, and I didn't express all of that with the DM. I just told him like a few things about her, but in my head, I had this whole thing about like how I was trained in tarot magic, and how I came to find my patron, and how I met Jared's character and all of that. And then, we start the campaign. I'm so excited. And he's like, you guys are in a well. And, like, he created, like, this completely different backstory for us. Which ended up being fine because it was a really short campaign. But it was like, no, actually, you guys fell in a well when you were, like, 12 years old. And there was, like, a time warp thing. And you came out of the well as adults. And, like, did that like affect you as much as it did me in terms of like your backstory and everything? That definitely
did throw me off, like in terms of just like trying to think of a backstory. Though I mean, that campaign definitely did feel like just an opportunity for us to get our feet wet in doing D&D.
Right, but like going into the campaign, we didn't know it was going to be a super short campaign.
Right.
So I thought like I was going to be. I mean, I ended up loving my character, so it wasn't a big deal. But yeah, and like I was a little frustrated with it at first, but then looking back on it, it's like 1, I could have just talked to my DM about it, but 2, I kind of liked having that challenge being put on me, where it's like, okay, no, instead you pretty much went through like this whole time warp thing, and you emerged from a well, and that's your backstory. And I liked the challenge of like figuring out the details of that for myself and figuring out how that affected my character to that day. So now I really like having those loops being thrown at me.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the time my race almost changed. In our second campaign that we're still in right now, I'm a water genasi, and we went to this one shop, and the shopkeeper was holding this washstone, and I was like super fascinated by it. And so I go to grab it, and she's like, I don't know what this will do to you. I was like, fuck it, and I grabbed it, and I rolled like a 16 or something, like just barely enough to where it wouldn't permanently affect me. But had I rolled low enough, it would have turned me into an Earth Genasi. And like just like completely throw my whole character through a loop. And part of me kind of wishes that happened.
That definitely would have been interesting.
Yeah, no, I really enjoy, and like, our DM is super cool, and he straight up told us like, yeah, I don't want to like drastically change a character that you took time to set up, but I told him like, no, you can do that. Yeah, so long as it doesn't change my backstory entirely without reason, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, 'cause then yeah, like if there's like something that would have like changed my race or sub-race or whatever, like yeah, do that. That's fun.
Yeah, I definitely think that like being in the Adventure League, it really helps you just be able to meet other players and understand how other people play D&D. Home games are really fun for being like really creative and just like bullshitting with your friends.
Yeah.
And I feel like that maybe like we're we haven't done necessarily like a full on home game yet, though we may be doing that relatively soon.
Yeah, you're gonna write us a campaign, aren't you, Jared?
I was talking about my friend's campaign.
Oh, well, that's like that was like a 2-part one shot.
Oh, not the one shot campaign. There was a.
Oh wait, now I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, my one friend he's planning on doing like this whole big like D&D based campaign. Though I eventually want to be able to GM a campaign that's based on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Nani?
And I found like a custom rule set online for that, and I'm really excited. Really excited about that and seeing if I'm able to DM at all.
You'll be able to DM. It'll be good.
I can function as a GM.
I cannot tell you how much I am looking forward to that.
Yeah.
But was there anything else that you wanted to touch on with character creation, or maybe like backtrack into like anxieties about going into Adventure League, or any previous topics before we go into the next thing?
No, I mean, I think we're good. I think we should move on to the next topic, which is on how to get more comfortable role-playing with a group.
Yeah, awesome. I think that you are the expert on this. I feel like you know all that there is to know. So please, take the floor, Jared.
You mean I'm the least to know about role-playing?
Yeah, he doesn't talk.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I've been struggling with in the campaigns, and kind of like a source of anxiety, and just which makes me upset that I don't do this is I feel like that I don't talk enough and contribute enough to the role-playing aspect, which is something that I really want to be able to do, though I feel like I need to improve on just being able to improv and really get in the shoes of my character.
Yeah, no, and like, I will say, like, I wouldn't beat yourself up about it too much, though. I think that, like, you don't talk too much in character, and that, that's an awesome goal to have, to work on that, but when it comes to, like, out of game jokes, or even like if you're prompted to do like more physical comedy by the DM, then you go ham on it. Like, there was this one time the DM was prompting at, like, we had to sneak around something, and Jared like got up, and like we all got in a line, and we were like tiptoeing around the table, and like any kind of like physical reenactment like that, you go ham on. But when it comes to like talking in character, do you just feel like you're on the spot, like you can't get into your character's brain, or? Yeah,
I just feel like maybe more so just like being on the spot and being able to make on the fly sort of quips, or be able to hold a conversation in character.
Right. No, and I struggle with that a little bit too. I'm definitely more comfortable talking in character, and I prefer to stay in character for most of the time. But yeah, I think that a big part of it is working on your character. Like, if your goal is to get better at role playing, especially when you're with a new group, definitely you have to know your character really well. You have to know, like, are you really sarcastic? Are you really, pro tip: if your character's shy, you don't have to talk. But yeah, no. Is your character shy? Or this sounds like super basic and obvious, but it's like something that I think is really helpful is if you do have a buddy, you guys can run through scenarios at home and try, and you'll feel on the spot still, but at least it's not in game.
It'll definitely feel a little more relaxed, and like those sort of scenarios are specifically made for you to work on communicating in game as a character.
Yeah, and I know like my big thing with figuring out like role playing with a new group is because it's a new group and I'm still feeling out like what kind of games they like to do. Like for this campaign, I've been wanting to explore a more serious character because I'm always doing lighthearted comedy characters. But I'm also like, oh, I don't want to like bring down the tone of the game. I don't want to I don't want to like create any kind of like awkward silences because I'm being super serious or something like that. Mm-hmm. But, I'm already finding out just in the first couple times playing this character that, like, even, like, when I almost turned into an Earth Genasi, the Washstone still had, like, some physical effects on my character, and it was temporary. But, like, in that moment, she freaked out, and she was yelling at the shopkeep, and she's like, what the hell did you do to me? And, like, I was afraid that it was going to be really awkward doing that, but it ended up just being, we all just laughed and had a good time with it anyways. So like, mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like the biggest takeaway is like, if you're afraid to do something, just try it anyways. Maybe a lighter version if you're really intimidated by it, but like, just try it.
Mm-hmm. Just think about how your character would approach the situation.
Yeah, and even if you're like, if you do like really want to go ham on the role playing and you don't notice too many people role playing, like just go for it. Like I'm trying to think of something that's just not me saying the same thing over and over again.
It sounds like that we're kind of giving advice when we didn't really want
Yeah, don't actually take our advice. We know nothing. We prefaced this at the beginning, so anyone who forgot, it's on them.
Well, I mean, I think we forgot.
I think you forgot.
I mean, you're the one that was giving advice. I mean, I gave advice too. Yeah, just don't acknowledge this podcast ever happened.
Yes, that.
Yeah.
Are we done?
I mean, I think we've kind of hit all the points that we wanted to.
Yes. But yeah, thank you for listening. Hopefully, the next episode will be more organized and more cohesive.
Less of a train wreck.
Yes, that as well.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in.
Yep. Bye, guys.
See ya.